Right.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Rangers Review morning briefing for Wednesday, the 8th of November. I'm Derek Clark, and I'm joined this morning by a full fit squad. First of all, Joshua Barry. How are we doing, Joshua?
Yeah, good, Derek. Good to be here. Chris was obviously in position last night, so lots to talk about with the news that emerged from the fan forum. I guess start looking ahead to the game tomorrow, because before we know it, Rangers will be playing again.
Yeah, Chris joins us as well. It ended up being a busy evening for you, Chris. You were at the fans forum yesterday.
It was a good night as always. I think the board deserve a lot of credit for putting these events on. I think probably a couple of hundred in attendance at U Edmiston House last night, and I think that there was obviously James Biswell was the great main man from an executive point of view, but the manager popped in for 20 minutes or so as well before he made his way down to Capello for the FAB team game. So a busy night for him as well, and a busy day for him. I thought he came across.
Oh, Chris has just frozen there. He needs to put 50 pence in the router or the meter, I think, to get the router back up and running. Hopefully we'll get Chris back, folks, but we will carry on. He mentioned there the B team, of course. Unfortunately, that David McCallum's side exited the SPFL Trust Trophy last night at Capello, losing 4-2 to Rhys McCabe's Airdrie Onions. But a good experience all round for the young Bears. In the end, just coming up just a bit short against a team who are doing well in the championship under the former Rangers midfielder. So well done, lads. Good effort this season. Right, Joshua, we'll discuss the... hopefully we'll get Chris back, but he did touch on the fans forum there. One of the big talking points from James Bisgrove as we get Chris back on. Hopefully we can fire him back up on the screen.
There he is.
Oh, second time lucky. Gone but not forgotten.
Chris, I thought I was going to have to cover the fan forum. I wasn't at there, so I'm delighted to see you back.
I can go away again if you want.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Derek, over to you.
Yeah, Chris, we're just talking there. A number of talking points, of course. James Bisgrove was there, and he was talking about a number of different things. One was the technical director hunt, and that they're stepping up their search. Can you enlighten us on what was said?
I think we get asked this question almost every morning. Yeah. Every time we do a video, it's one of the main talking points. People clearly want to see a bit of progress on this. The good news is we can finally report that there might be progress over the next few days. James and John Bennett, the chairman, heading down to London over the next few days to meet their final candidates. James didn't go into any detail, of course, on who those people were or how many were on the list, having just been through the managerial search and tried our best to get to the bottom of that particular process. We'll obviously endeavour to see what we can do this time around, but it was tricky for the manager. I think it will be tricky for the technical director, but we'll certainly do our best. But I think the good thing from the fans' perspective is it does seem to be almost reaching a conclusion now. I think with the January transfer window coming up, the manager will, I'd imagine, drive a lot of that. He'll also have the main say in that. We are then looking longer term. We're looking at recruitment for the summer. We're looking about the sports science. We're looking about the academy, also with the appointment as a new head of academy yesterday. So this technical director will have a wide remit. There's a lot to do at Rangers. There's also plenty of room for improvement, and it'll be really interesting to see who they actually appoint and what kind of profile they go for. So I say we'll try our best to get to the bottom of it and try our best to find out the names. But mostly once there is a man in place, you can be sure we'll have the best coverage of that particular appointment and hopefully what we can expect to see from Rangers over the next few years. Because as we've said before, this appointment has to be the right one. That was true for the manager, and it's certainly true in terms of the technical director, sporting director, however you want to frame it as well.
Yeah, very interesting indeed. Some names have already been linked, of course, over the last week or so. Sam Jewell, son of Paul, head of recruitment at Brighton Hove Albion. Those links were played down a number of weeks ago. Liverpool's Alex Inglethorpe is also been rumoured to be linked with the vacancy as well. I think it's a role, Joshua, that Rangers will need to look to get filled, I would say, before January. Philip Clement is someone that works well with sporting directors at his previous clubs. I would like to see someone coming in that he can work with before the transfer window opens up. Do you think that's realistic?
Yeah, obviously at risk of going over old ground, because we've spoken about this quite a lot, Derek, why I think it's an important role when you're looking at the kind of long-term stewardship, easy for me to say, of a club. Rangers have had 4 managers in 2 years. The squad has been through a lot of different cycles. They've had to rebuild instead of just refreshing from window to window. A sporting director is key. In my opinion, a manager maybe should have some say in the appointment, but it shouldn't be too influential in the appointment, because, again, you don't want a situation where it's just an echo chamber. I don't think Clement is the type of man or manager that would try to create that. It's important, as Chris says, to get the right appointment as well as the correctly timed appointment. I totally agree with you on the timing, Derek. Rangers have, and we'll come on to speak today maybe about the right side of the pitch and areas where Clement might want to strengthen in January. But for me, too often over the last number of years, Rangers, ever since Steven Gerrard left, when there's been a change from style, especially when Gio came into the club, each window has been too much of an adaptation. I think Clement looks to be getting the best out of the squad so far, and I think there's certain positions he'll want to fill that Michael Beale, for the type of football he wanted to play, didn't need to fill. And that's important. But what you can't have is every single time a new manager comes in, you move the dial a little bit to them and then you move it a little bit back, because then I think you have what Rangers have had over, especially this summer, which is a manager inheriting a squad which is built for, again, although it's got redeeming qualities, I think it's more built for a style of play than it should be. A little bit too specific, shall we say, and with some holes in certain areas, such as the right side of the pitch, which obviously Scott Wright's coming and taking that opportunity really well, but it's not an area where Rangers have a lot of depth. So it's an appointment that I think should have been made before the summer. It's obviously going to be made now, as Chris says, following on from last night. I think the timing's crucial, because Rangers need to probably go into the market in January and make a couple of acquisitions, especially in areas of the pitch where Clement will have identified. It's important that you don't fall into the same mistakes you've made, I think, over the last number of seasons, and get that figurehead alongside the manager. So you've got that, I think, that healthy tension of the manager thinking short term, the manager thinking about the results, the sporting director thinking long term and thinking about the club overall and the state of the squad beyond the time that a manager will be at a club for.
Yeah. Anything other major talking points from that fans forum, Chris? Was it well attended, I'd imagine?
Yes, I think a couple of hundred inside New Edmiston House. It's a good venue for it. So I say Biscoff was also the main man from an executive level. The manager was there before going down to the B team game. And it's also interesting to hear from new commercial guys as well. Some of the off-field work in terms of the events staff. Natalie Nairn was there. James Taylor, the finance director, there as well. So I think it was a really interesting night. First time I've heard a lot of these guys speak. Craig Robertson there as well. So I think it was a worthwhile night. And as I said right at the start, fair play to the club for putting these things on. I think that accountability and being more open and being more honest was something that was definitely needed. I think the club fell away from those values for 2 or 3 seasons under previous appointments. So no, it's a fair play to the club for doing it. Greg Marshall was there as well. Also, they said fielded a lot of questions. There's obviously a lot of issues on my jers and away tickets and the type of things that your normal match going fan are just really interested in, that it really impact their experience. I suppose we better talk about the stadium as well in terms of a potential redevelopment of it. We actually had a story on this. I think it was September. There we go, Bob. Always aim to please.
He's not the only one that's commented in, Chris.
I think it was around about September time. We had a story on the website going through some of the plans that the board had. Obviously, the redevelopment in terms of disabled work had been signed off ahead of the AGM last year. I think we actually had that story first as well. So that was obviously in the pipeline. there's a lot of work being planned to tidy up the actual stadium footprint. So the tarmac round about the stadium will get done. Some of the brickwork will get done, some of the plastic and the metal work will get done, and all that will just bring the kind of feel of the stadium back up to what it has been. As you guys all know, having been there this season, there's a number of bits round about the stadium that have been given a much needed facelift. There's a new press room, a new media working area has been put in. So the club and the board are really investing in the stadium again after previous regimes a long time ago did not, and the place looked a bit run down and was not befitting of the stadium and not befitting of the club. So the board have put a lot of investment into that side of it, but obviously the main talking point is potential expansion. James ran through a couple of the options. Also, there's work that has been signed off already, and that work will commence come the end of this season to add the new disabled facilities, and there will be a small uplift in terms of the overall capacity there. He was asked about potentially filling in the corners. I think it was 700 per section that brings in. He then mentioned a potential lowering of the pitch and then putting half a dozen or so rows of seats in at the front of that. Also, it gives you a decent uplift. And then the big ticket, the blue sky thinking, the dream scenario is to possibly extend the stadium even further, and that would add several thousand seats at either end. But that's obviously even just thinking about that for people who are not engineers and who are not finance guys. We know that's going to come, and it's not going to be cheap, and it's not going to be easy. So anyone who's expecting a 70,000 mega Brox anytime soon is going to be disappointed. As Craig says, expansion is expensive. And it's not going to be easy. So I think it's encouraging that the board they've got plans that are signed off, the money's there for it, and there's going to be small steps in the right direction over the coming seasons. I say anyone that's thinking of a really big expansion just has to be realistic on timescales and be realistic on the cost of it as well. So again, I think it's good that the board are exploring these things. I think it's good that they're thinking outside the box. They're wanting to be ambitious. They're looking to meet the demand. All these things are really positive, but they're doing all those things. They're going through all these processes in the full knowledge of how expensive and how the key time scales are potentially going to drag out. So interesting, but not one to get too excited about right now.
Yeah, interesting indeed. Want to keep an eye on Gaz Jones as well with another talking point from the fans forum. Chris, I'll get your views on this. He says the Walter Smith statue is a great way to honour an icon. We got an update on that, didn't we?
Yes, early next year, hopefully, for that to finally be put in place. Again, I know it's something we get asked about every so often. I think it was AGM last year that Douglas Park confirmed that it was.
So, yeah.
I think it was last year. Confirmed that there was going to be this permanent memorial to Walter. There's no more fitting a figure for that honour to be bestowed upon. There's obviously had a lot of work to go into it to make sure it's the right in the right place and it has the right look and the right feel about it. The family have been heavily involved in that over recent months as well. So I'm really excited to see what it looks like, to see where it's going to be. I know it's something the fans are really keen to see put in place. So hopefully not too far away from that now. And as I said, there's no more fitting a figure that it deserves that honour at Ibrox.
James Skeen says no one deserves it more than Walter Smith. Totally agree. Really much looking forward to that being erected. Right, let's get to some of the comments that are coming in. First of all, Matt Weir says, good morning, watching from a hospital in Inverness, getting home today. Excellent shows, keeping me up to date with all things Rangers. Excellent write-up with the fans forums from Stevie. Well done. Wish you all the best in your recovery, Matt, and thank you for tuning in. Huge thanks to Jock, who's become a YouTube member. If you want to sign up to the members section on the YouTube channel, folks, then you can do so just on the homepage of the Rangers Review YouTube site. There should be a join button. If you click that, you'll get 3 extra videos at least every week, and there'll be an extra video this afternoon. As James Quinn says, are the pressures the day? They certainly are, James. We'll be at the press conference at Rangers Training Centre to speak to Philip Clement and whatever player is put up for the press, and then it'll be on afterwards for the reaction video to that, and the press conferences will be put up, not only the transcripts on the Rangers Review site, but also they will be available to watch on the YouTube channel as well. Right, back to footballing matters on the field. Joshua Abdallah Sima has been recognised for his form. He's been in really good form for Rangers, it's fair to say, for some time now, you've got to say, and he's been rewarded with the SPFL Player of the Month award for October. Richly deserved.
Yeah, I think so. And he, as you say, Derek, he's been in form for quite a while, but I actually feel like he's done quite a few different roles. Obviously, when he first came into the team, he was playing from the right. Then he started playing from the left towards the end of kind of Beale's era and the start of Clement's. We saw him play at left wing back over in Prague a couple of weeks ago. In the last couple of weeks, he's been less involved on a goals basis, but I think he's been doing a different role for the team. And it's a perfect example of a player who is, it's taken a bit of time to get up to speed. I think it's taken a bit of time to really properly find his feet. But once he has done that, it's only early November, and I think deserves his Player of the Month for last month, as Damien says. Always like to have a graph. So a couple of things to flag here. I think he didn't. To me, when he came in, he didn't feel like a natural left winger. Someone like Matondo is maybe more comfortable taking the ball wide and going past men. But I think you have seen with Sima, even since that first game under Clement, home against Hibs, wasn't it? I think he's looked more comfortable out on that left-hand side, and Rangers are a little bit less focused on always playing down the right-hand side. They played on the left a little bit more consistently. Lammers was around that side more, so it's a kind of greater number of passing options. But Sima's quality, as well as his kind of energy and his work ethic, the fact that he had that game against Hibs where he scored 2, but was also kind of covering his fullback right throughout the game. He gives you that running threat in behind, but he also gives you the threat of always being a kind of second striker, a second number 9 in the box, Derek. And if you look at this, is the I'll take the kind of banner off for this for a second, just so people can see it. But this is the expected goals per 90 table, which, if people don't know what it is,
I need to screw your eyes a little bit at.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do by now. But all you need to know is that Sima's third on that list. He's playing wide, but he's consistently involved in a lot of goal scoring chances. Similarly, this is touches in the opposition box. Sima's third as well. The point being, Derek, he's spending a lot of time outside the box. He's spending a lot of time covering his fullback. He's spending time running up and down the wing. He's giving Rangers a threat in behind. But he's also giving you that option of another number 9 in the box. And although the goals haven't kind of arrived in the last couple of games, I think you see other parts of his game as well. I'm intrigued to see when Rabbi Matondo comes back where he fits into this equation, because I do think he's a player who could play well under Clement. I think the style of play will suit him more because there's going to be natural width as opposed to maybe playing in the centre and moving wide. He'll be able to start wide. We saw his impact towards the start of the season, but we also saw how much more comfortable he looked on the left-hand side compared to the right-hand side. Now, that might be slightly different under a new manager, but I think anyone who's watched Matondo at Rangers will say that he is more confident and comfortable on that left-hand side. He'll give a bit more depth when he comes back, but I think you've got to say at the moment that is Sima's position. He's made it his own, and deserves the accolade for the last month for me.
Yeah, totally deserved. Interesting point from JDS, Chris. He says we must put in an offer for Sima in January. How much do you think he is worth at this moment in time? If he continues in this vein of form, then said price tag is going to increase, I suspect. Oh, he's on mute. There he goes.
What a technological nightmare I'm having this morning. I fear the price tag and the wages may be out with Rangers' reach if Sima continues in this vein of form. I think we might find ourselves in a Malik Tillman situation, unfortunately. It's always the danger of you take young, promising, up-and-coming players on loan, and if they do really well, they then become out with your reach. As much as I would like to see him stay, I don't think there's nothing from Sima's perspective that makes it worth his while saying, I'm going to commit the next 4 years of my career to Rangers, give me that long-term contract. Like Tillman, he's as well just waiting and seeing what other options are on on the table. That may well be he thinks another move to Rangers next year is the best thing for him. But again, like Tillman, you might think, well, I've done Rangers, I've maybe won something, maybe won the league, had a bit of European experience. I'm now going to go and try and get myself another Premier League team. If that's not going to be Brighton, I'm going to go back and try my hand in Europe again. I think Rangers enjoy O'Malley's here. They make the most of O'Malley's here. I think he's going to be an important part of the side going forward, as Josh has also explained. He's really come onto a game. I thought at first when he came in, it was raw. You could tell there was something there. He didn't make that great an impact the first couple of games. Since then, he's really kicked on, become a really important part of the team. Every time we do a predicted lineup now, that left-sided option, there's nobody else in the squad that's challenging for that role. And I think Rangers just have to focus on that, focus on getting the best out of him for the coming weeks, coming months, and then maybe assess the situation come the summer. But I think it's going to be a big fee. Unfortunately, if Brighton decide that it's not right for them, there's going to be a number of teams that will fancy Sima. Rangers, I'm sure, will be one of them. But I do fear that it may just be out with our reach.
There could probably be a different topic if it's like if it was a few years ago talking about Sima, because he obviously came to European football with
Barcelona and Arsenal were interested in him when he was at Slavia. Slavia, Sparta, I get mixed up those two. Slavia,
yeah. And but I mean, if you've been signed by Brighton as a 20-year-old, you're probably going to cost quite a lot of money when you're 22 or 23. I think it's been a perfect example, though. A lot of people compare it. Obviously, he kind of has replaced Fashion Sakala's role in the squad. And they're both attackers with pace who I know Sima started playing off the right, but maybe not they're not the central number 9. I think you've seen in comparison to what Sakala gave you, Sima can play that. Sakala couldn't play the left side of a kind of midfield 4 and do that defensive track and back. I don't think he quite had that same level of I don't know if tactical discipline is the right word, but Sima, I think, uses his pace in a different way. He gives you that threat, running and behind threat, in a way that I don't think Sakala really did. Sakala was, again, someone who used his pace, but used it more when he got the ball to feet. Again, he was someone who's quite consistently caught offside, wasn't he? So it does look like a good upgrade in that position, but I totally agree with Chris. He looks like someone who's really bought into it. He looks like someone who's really enjoying it. You can see that when he celebrates the goals, even in Beale's last game, when Sima was kind of celebrating it 2-1 down. And obviously the stadium by that point was very flat. Similarly away in Aris, Chris was at that game, and when he scored that goal, he looks like someone who's bought into the club and is really enjoying it. I think to get him for a fee that would be affordable for Rangers, especially when they'll have other needs they need to address. Who knows how much of that squad will need to be reshaped next summer. I think it'd be pretty idealistic to think he'll be back. So hopefully he continues the form he's shown for the last month, because Rangers still have 6 months to get out of him, and all the signs at the moment with Sima, I think, look pretty positive.
Yeah, maybe Davy Weir can do as a turn down there at Brighton, and Rangers can get him on the cheap, but I wouldn't hold out too much hope for that. Huge thanks, incidentally, to William for his generosity. He's gifted 5 Rangers Review memberships. That is absolutely sensational, William. Thank you very much for doing so. It's greatly appreciated. So hats off to you, buddy. Right, let's get to some other comments that are coming in. Interesting point here from Martin Peebles. I think I'll get your point of view on this, Joshua. Hello, lads. What about moving Tavernier to number 8 and play Alex Lowry as a number 9? And do you think Tavernier being top goal scorer in Europe? What do you make of this?
It's a comment. That's a comment to wake you up, Derek, isn't it?
Seems outlandish to me, but fair play, Martin.
Yeah, fair play, Martin. He's had his coffee this morning. Listen, I think the whole conversation with Tavernier moving higher or wider, there's a reason so many managers have kept him at right back. We're going to write about this over the international break, Derek. I think that Rangers still need to make their kind of next evolution at fullback. If you look at how teams all around Europe are using their fullbacks, 5 years ago, take Liverpool as an example. 5 years ago, overlapping fullbacks was the trend. It was what most teams did. Gradually, they've started to move inside the pitch and take up a variety of different roles and positions as well. And I think Rangers, on the right, Tavernier gives you the option of he can move inside, he can run behind, he can move in and attack the box. Crucially, he's got the freedom to do that. On the left, I think when Barisic plays, Barisic, who actually I think it's worth mentioning, Derek had a really good defensive game in that second half of the weekend. That did a piece that's on the website which effectively looked at what you and I kind of spoke about after the game, all 3 Rangers goals coming in transition, which is so important when you're trying to break down a low block. But although it's crossing the first half I thought was too consistent and not effective, I thought he had a really good defensive game, won the ball back, helped win the ball back I think twice in the lead up to 3 of those goals. So I do think that there needs to be more evolution in the fullback position. I'd like to see, and again, over the international break, we'll do a members video on it. We've got an article planned on it to see how Rangers can evolve that position. I think Tavernier is capable of doing a lot of different things. He can go wide and he can provide width. He can attack the box. He can move inside at points as well. But again, there's a reason so many managers have played him in that right back spot. Not least because one of his qualities, you're right, is attacking the box. He's I think, much more effective attacking the box when, let's say, hypothetically started at the right wing. Your left back's going to mark him up. If you start at right back and you attack the box, there's so much ambiguity about who picks up a fullback when they make those type of runs because they're slightly unorthodox. I think that's helped Tavernier quite a lot throughout his Rangers career. It gives him the freedom to go and attack the box. So get him forward as much as possible. Yes, he's one of your chief goal threats, but I don't see him moving certainly inside the pitch. And Lowry is as a number 9. I think he's good in the centre. But yeah, I'd again be surprised if he's a number 9. I think he's more comfortable off the left-hand side, and hopefully we see a bit more of that at Hearts this season.
Yeah, off the back of that, you mentioned, Chris, about Sima being one of the first names in the team sheet over on that left-hand side. Paul McGarrigle with the point. Derek and guys, do you think Clement will bring in a right winger in January? Joshua mentioned Rabbit Matondo. We're still awaiting his return from injury. That will be interesting to see where he plays. But do you think Rangers need a right winger come the transfer window?
Short answer to that one is yes, Paul. I think that's probably the most kind of glaring issue in the side right now. We've seen it over the last few weeks. Also, I've had Cantwell playing mostly from the right, but then not really wanting to play there, and also coming into the middle of the pitch to try and have more of an impact. We've seen the impact that Scott Wright has made in that position, certainly at the weekend there. Matondo, we don't actually know when he's due back. We don't know if it's next week or if it's 6 weeks down the line. Also, the manager's keeping that close to his chest. So I think that's probably the most glaring issue in the side right now. It's that forward line is a bit lopsided and unbalanced at times because you do have the natural width and pace of Sima. If that's the role you want him to play, he does that on the left-hand side. Right-hand side, you can play Scott Wright there, but it doesn't have the same quality as Sima, hasn't made the same impact as Sima, as good as he has been in the last couple of games, and fair play to him for that. So I do think that is the one area. I do wonder if there was a more natural and more obvious right-sided option at present, if we would have seen Lammers perhaps drop out the team a bit more and Cantwell then play that as the 10, but I've also spoke about Cantwell the other day there, still finding his way back up to full fitness and back up to full sharpness by the sounds of it. So I think there's as impressive as the team has been, also scored a lot of goals, won the games that have to be won. It's not perfect yet. It's certainly not perfect, and I do think that right-sided area is the one that the manager will look to address during January. I'd be amazed if we don't see a right-sided forward and another striker come into the club.
Yeah, interesting. I'll get your views on that, Joshua, and also Mark Harris with the point. There's been a few comments coming in about Yannis. Morning, guys. You think Haji will be back playing for Rangers at any point? And if so, how good can he get under a manager who knows how to get the best out of players? I don't think Yannis Haji. I would be surprised to see him in the Rangers jersey again, Joshua. I've got to say on Yannis. I don't think he's. I hope he does well in his loan spell over there in Spain. But I just think that ship has sailed for me. Do you agree with that? And Chris's point on that right forward, is that imperative that Rangers bring someone in over in that position come January?
I agree with what Chris has said. I mean, this, again, it goes back to squad building, Derek, but this is a squad that has not been built to play with wingers. So I don't think it's a case of Rangers haven't ever, the comment is always Rangers haven't replaced Candeas. It's because they've changed formation, they changed what they were trying to do. This is a squad built with lots of strikers and lots of number 10s and fullbacks to provide width. And ultimately this season that hasn't worked. And it fits in quite nicely with what you're asking about Haji, because if you go back to when Gio arrived around this time 2 years ago, he didn't have an option on the right as well. So he played Yannis Haji in there to give you that option of coming inside in his left foot. Because Tavernier always has been the one to provide width on that side, it makes sense. I do think that you see Clement wants to play with pace on either side of his midfield when possible, and that's why Wright, again, he had the end product at the weekend. I think his best quality is he can pick the ball up and drive forward. Rangers have not had, I just think on a basic level, they've not had enough players in a starting 11 this season until Clement's arrived, where you look at the team and you think, okay, there's enough players in there who can beat players one-on-one with pace. And that's maybe a bit of a simplistic way of thinking about it, but when you're trying to break down teams consistently, I think you need people who are capable of dribbling with the ball at pace. And I don't think without natural wide men, without crossers out wide normally, instead of people who are going to try and take men on one-on-one, I think at times that's been the cause of some of Rangers' issues. So I agree. I think you want a left-footed player in there to give you some balance. Obviously, the redemption arc of Scott Wright is a positive because it gives you depth in there, and certainly more options. Todd Campbell, I know you guys spoke about him a lot the other day. Would like to see him in that number 10 position. I think he has played quite a lot of his football for Rangers off the right, but I think that was more towards the start of his career. He looks better to me when he has a free roll. He looks better when he's dribbling with the ball off the left as opposed to the right. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in there, because Lammers, it seems to be something of a favourite of the manager so far. He had quiet moments on the ball. He was quite quiet overall on the ball. The game against Hearts, he also won the ball back twice in the lead up to 2 of the 3 goals. And people might say, oh, he's not in the team to do that. He's in the team to create. Well, that is creating. Rangers scored 3 goals via that means. I would like to see Campbell in that number 10 position, or at points off the left as well, because I think he's more natural from there. But I totally agree with Chris. I think a winger, someone on that side to provide pace and width, preferably with a left foot to work alongside Tavernier, that should be a priority in the January window.
Yeah. Okay. Some news before we wrap things up. First of all, Rangers have tweeted. Of course, it was a sad loss losing Mary Tiny Gallagher recently. She served the club for over 50 years and was a treasured friend to generations of players and staff. They've tweeted to say a private service will take place at 12 noon on Tuesday, November the 14th. So next Tuesday, folks, with the funeral cortege set to pass Ibrox prior to this, supporters are invited to pay their final respects. So if you want to get along to Ibrox and pay your final respects to Mary Tiny Gallagher, that would be absolutely sensational. And Super Jack Butland in goal, Rangers have tweeted as well. He's been voted Rangers Player of the Month for October, which again, him, Sima, I think there's others possibly in contention for that, but Butland has been a revelation since signing in at the summer, so absolutely well deserved for Jack there. And just a quick word as well before I forget, for our podcast sponsors, the MPH Group. They are the family-run business covering all of mainland Scotland. If you want a new boiler, then they've got a winter boiler promotion on just for you. The Navian boiler winter promotion. When you opt for their installation through MPH Boilers, not only are you choosing top-tier efficiency, but you're also getting a free Navian internet controller. The little gadget can crank up your boiler's efficiency to an impressive 98%, and they're covering the first year's service with no added costs as well. They do offer flexible finance options also. The all-important links are in the description below, so do go and check them out if that is something you are thinking of. Right, lots coming your way on the Rangers Review site, and well, first of all, the website. If you haven't taken advantage of the 2 offers, now is the time to do so. £4 for 4 months or £18 for an entire year. Head over to rangersreview.co.uk/subscribe for all the details. As we touched on earlier, the press conference ahead of tomorrow's game takes place this afternoon, and we'll have all the reaction from that, and we'll also be on for a press conference reaction. I think it's myself and your good self, Chris, later on once we get things done and dusted at the Rangers Training Centre.
Yes, it's a 10 past 1, sorry, for the manager and player, Sparta Prague, on later on tonight at Ibrox, just before they train and get a look at the pitch. So yes, we'll be up at the training ground for lunchtime and back on this afternoon to go through what the manager said. I'm sure there'll be an extensive injury update, so we'll know exactly when everyone is back. But I'm looking forward to egg up to see what the mood in the camp is like after what has been an encouraging couple of weeks, and also as the build up steps up ahead of a really important game on Thursday night.
Yeah, long may it continue. Right, folks, that'll do us here. Thanks to everyone for interacting with the show. I start this message from Francis. It says, congratulations on having over 10 million views last year. We passed that milestone the other day on YouTube. So thank you to everyone for tuning in and supporting the channel as well. It is greatly appreciated. And here's to the next 10 million or so. So thank you very much, Francis, and thank you to each and every one of you for tuning in every weekday morning and also on match days and the like. So, hats off to you all. Right, we'll be back again later with Chris, and we'll have the press conferences. If we don't speak to you then, we'll speak to you tomorrow as we begin the big look ahead to the Europa League clash with Sparta Prague at Ibrox. Bye for now.